Hello, 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 you guys. Thank you for joining me today. So, I just wanted to jump on here a little bit, and I'm going to be talking about credit. And so, let me just,
Hello, hello,
uh-oh,
hello.
let's get this going. As you guys know, I'm going to be talking about credit and budgeting and financing all this month over on my channel. So thank you for tuning in with me as I get a little situated here before I get started. Okay, so thank you for joining me today. Today, I'm going to be talking about what I believe is the hardest part about repairing credit. And so I'm going to share some tips with you, some things that you can do as you're working on your credit. So let's get started. All right. So, one of the things that I believe is the hardest part about repairing credit is the overwhelming amount of information. I don't know if you guys have pulled your credit report. If you use a service like annualcreditreport.com, you will actually receive your report in three sections. You'll receive a TransUnion, an Experian, and an Equifax report. Then you have to kind of go through each report each time. A lot of the information is duplicated. So one of the things that I definitely find to be helpful through all of this is when you maybe pay for the report. When you pay for the report, I know we don't like to give out money when there's a free version, but at least when you pay for the report, there's some bureaus out there or some agencies that will try merge that report together, so you're able to look at it from a standpoint of just kind of like one report that's merged together, that's pulling in all of that data at the same time. I definitely think that that will help you with getting past that information. So the best way to overall handle dealing with the report is to break it down in chunks. So I'm going to share with you kind of like how all the credit reports are broken down to maybe make it a little easier for you. So it will be the same process no matter if you go through annual credit report and you have all three copies of your report. It just means that you're going to have to follow the same process three times, in a row versus doing it one time with the tri-merge report. So you want to break it down in sections. You want to have some paper available. I definitely think that some people try to do it on the computer or like on Excel spreadsheet or something like that. I think that the best way to get through it is just to do it by paper and pencil. You take out a sheet of paper. You can look at keep your credit report on your computer screen, because some of those reports can be really long. But having that on the screen, you take your paper and pencil, and then you start going down. So in that first top block of your credit report, it's always going to have your personal information. It's going to share your contact, your addresses, all of that information about you. You want to double check that information that is in that block and work on deleting any old addresses, places that are unrelated to you. So you want to go ahead and start working on cleaning that up. Also, you want to start getting in the habit that when you're applying for credit anywhere, that you start spelling or writing out your name the same way. So if you use your middle initial or you use your full middle name, anytime you apply for any credit, you want to make sure that you are writing the whole thing out. So my name is Andrea Wilson. I never write my middle initial or middle name. I always just use Andrea Wilson. So if you are someone that uses that middle initial, because that's going to help clean up any folks that have similar names to you from those records getting crossed. If you are like a junior, making sure that you're writing junior on those applications as well, because that is also a big thing where, the dad and son are getting mixed up and the credit profiles are starting to get crossed. So we oftentimes see that a lot. So verifying that information in that big block. So that's going to be the same on any credit report that you have. That top block is going to be your personal contact information, and you're just verifying that that's you, having or requesting that any of those old addresses that are unrelated to you cleaned up. And then when you apply for new credit, writing your name the same way each time and using the same address. I didn't say that before, but using the same address. I know that for some of you, you may be living in a rental, so you may tend to move addresses from year to year. So maybe you're using like your mom's address. If you're applying for credit and you know that you use like your mom's address, continue to use that address. You want to be consistent. You don't want on some credit applications that you're applying for to use mom's address, and then on another report use your current residence. They're looking for that consistency across the board. So that's the first half. And then it flows into a credit summary piece. That credit summary piece, you can glance that over, but for right now, as we're just trying to get organized and get through this process, you can glance at that credit summary piece, but we're just going to ignore that right now because we're going to dig into the detail of it. So it's okay to glance over and see, what is it telling you in that piece of information, but we're not even we don't want to be overwhelmed. So we're not even going to focus in on that area. We're going to dig and dive right into the actual items that's reporting on your credit report. So after that credit summary, it goes into your public records. So the public records section of it is important for you to pay close attention to as well. That public records is going to list if you've had anything like bankruptcies on your report. That's where it will show up under public records. If you're thinking about buying a house, this is important. Maybe when you filed everything, you don't know what you did with the documents. And so the lender typically is going to look for you to have been out of that bankruptcy for at least 2 years from the date of discharge. So in that public records section, it's going to list the date. It's going to give you the date in there. So that will give you the target date to look for. So now if you just filed bankruptcy, we're working the next 2 years, we're working on improving, rebuilding credit, but that's an important piece. If you're a year plus and you're not quite sure, you don't remember those dates, that's where you can get that information from by looking on your credit report. So definitely something that you want to pay attention to. So after that, it's going to go right into that credit history. And this is where the information starts to get a little overwhelming, because as you start to scroll down, it can be a lot of information. When you're looking at some of those names that are listed on there, you don't recognize some of those names, kind of like what's going on. So this is where I want you to take that piece of paper, and we're just going to start writing down and breaking down, getting rid of a lot of that extra information that's not needed at this point in time. We are just trying to figure out what the heck is going on our credit report. Who do we owe? What's reporting collections, right? So if you've had a bankruptcy, paying close attention to items that are showing up that should have been included in that bankruptcy that we need to go back and dispute and get that updated in the file. So as you go down on there through that credit report and you see those credit accounts, at the top or in one section is going to say who placed that item or that collection or that credit item on your account. That's important, especially if it's a collection, because the original creditor may have sold it off to a collection agency. So it's going to show that information at the top. And then if you look a little deeper into it, it will actually show you the original creditor on there. So we want to write who the collection agency is, who the actual creditor is. So maybe you didn't pay a phone bill, so now AT&T is reported, but they sold it to a collection agency. So you may show two people, the collection agency name, and then it will also show like AT&T in this example. You're also writing down how much is owed to them and pay special attention to the dates that it's reporting on there. Because we're going to come back to that towards the end of this, and we're going to talk about that. So you want to follow that same process. Your pen and paper, you're writing down all of these creditors, what's going on, going down. As you're writing this down, you're going to pay special attention for any potential duplicates that are showing up on your report. And maybe just put a little star by anything that's showing as a duplicate on your report as you're going down. So after you get past all of your credit history on there, that next section is going to be your inquiries. This is everyone that you have applied for credit through. This is if you try to get a car, a credit card, furniture, whatever. That's going to show what those inquiries. The rule of thumb that you want to follow with that is, so your inquiries will stay on your report for 2 years. So this is important to understand because people don't realize that when you file all of these credit report or apply for credit, all these places, that stuff pulls and it lasts for 2 years. And when you apply for certain things, like say like a house, they're going to look to see like, oh, well, they're just pulling credit everywhere. Kind of like, what's going on? Why are they needing so much credit right now? So it stays on for 2 years. The rule of thumb is in a 2-year period, you want to try to keep that limited to no more than 6 reporting on there or inquiries on there. So 6 over a 2-year period. You might say, well, that seems like too low of amount. That's what we're focused on. A lot of times we know we can't get the credit on something. We're just in hopes or so like, oh, go ahead, just go ahead and run your credit. We have to get out of that habit of doing that. And if you want your credit pool, you can have your credit pool, but it just needs to be a soft credit pool. So if you're dealing with a housing agency, we have a housing agency here. If we pull your credit, it does not impact or will not show up on your credit report. It doesn't affect your score and it won't pull up on your credit report. You want to do that. A lot of times you will get credit offers for credit card companies in the mail. And they say you may have been pre-approved. They have done, in a lot of cases, like a soft credit pool. So that's how they're getting that information. And if you look a little closer to it, in some cases, you can even inquire through them still through a soft credit pool. So if you're looking for information. So if it looks good from the soft credit pool, then maybe you can go ahead and apply for that credit. Right? So that's important when we're looking at those inquiries and limiting those inquiries. So now I'm going to go back to all of the items that are showing in that credit history, any of those collections accounts, right? The thing or the word or the term that I want you to get used to hearing is validation of debt. The goal, honestly, is to try and it's not saying that you don't owe some of this stuff, but we're working to clean your credit report up and so that we can get you mortgage ready. So in order to get you mortgage ready, we can't have disputes on your credit bureau. So we have to figure out how to get these items removed off of there. Just because they're removed does not mean that you don't owe them, but this will help improve your credit score and will allow the lender to decide to work with you. You won't be as high of a risk. So the goal is either we're paying off some of these collections. We're saying, yes, we owe it. Sometimes it's minimal amounts. You just need to pay $60, $100. Let's just pay it, get it over with. But for some of those higher items, what we want to focus on doing is a validation of debt. Validation of debt. This is important for you to know. So you're not just doing an inquiry, we're doing a validation of debt. You have to write the letter and send it to that creditor that is reporting this collection on there. They have to meet with the guidelines to be able to provide you the information back. If they cannot validate the debt, because a lot of times these collection companies are getting these files illegally. So if they can't validate the debt, then it has to be removed. And so that's important for you to understand that your credit may not be all the way shot. It just takes a little bit of a little bit of work, mailing in some letters and challenging these credit bureaus and beating them at their own game. A lot of times they are twisting and bending the rules, and we just are educated enough to know this. We can fight back. So as much as possible, we want to make that credit report squeaky clean. So again, I'm going to be sharing all kind of information about credit budgeting, financing all through the month of November. I'm trying to get you guys on track. I work with a lot of people who want to buy a home, have a dream of owning a home, but just can't. And credit and not having enough savings are the things that's holding them back. So we're going to fix that problem. If you're serious about this, I'm going to be serious about this too. I'm going to share with you the information. I work with a lot of potential buyers. We work through their credit situation. May not happen overnight. Sometimes it takes about a year. It could take up to about 2 years. Part of it has to do with how dedicated you are to the process. And honestly, it really starts mentally. You have to make the mental commitment to yourself. You're going to hear me say that all the time. If you are not ready to move forward with this, it won't happen. This goes the same for if you're trying to work out, you want to exercise, you want to lose weight. If you are not mentally prepared to be focused on this, then it's not going to happen. So we have a number of services here in our office for free. The only thing that you end up having to pay for is your credit report, which is about $26. But outside of that, it is a free service for you. So there's no excuse why we can't get on track, getting you on the route to home ownership. 2020 was a rough year for, a lot of us. And so 2021, we are working on becoming better or bettering ourselves, and I want to help you guys get there. So if you guys have any comments, feel free to type that in the chat. Thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me. I do check my direct messages. I do respond to my direct messages. I know a lot of times people say, I don't respond to that. You can contact me. I want to help you guys. We're getting you to be homeowners this year. So make sure you like and you share and you subscribe to my channel, and look out, hit the notification button for me as I'm going to be coming to you live like every day this month. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Oh, wait a minute. Do I have a question here? Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right, guys.